Gotta wait for our Westminster chime here on our intro. Anyway, hello everybody, Michael Holman here with Curt's Clocks, the Atmos repair specialist. Today I want to make a quick video showing you how to put your Atmos clock back in action. And right now I have this 519 out of action, so you can see and understand what I'm talking about when I say that. Out of action is something that seems to occur more commonly with 519s. It can happen when your balance wheel has really good motion, meaning that this roller rotates a very long distance. And what will happen is it'll rotate all the way around and hit that pallet fork on the exterior. As you can see how it is here, this roller is out of the grasp of that pallet fork. The fork is kind of like two prongs. It's actually three, but two prongs on each side, a prong on each side, corralling that roller. And it begins the release of a tooth on the escape wheel when that roller enters, and you get a tick on your hands. But anyway, what happens is it jumps out either by rotating all the way around and hitting it. Sometimes if you adjust the time and you kind of bump the hands backwards, you can get that pallet fork to jump. That's another reason why we don't want to move counterclockwise with the minute hand. And also, if you ship them without having the roller dead captured in the center of the clock, it's another way that that pallet fork can jump over as it vibrates or bounces. So that's the reason why I send them with the roller completely captured inside the pallet fork. And I'll show you what that looks like, because this is a pretty simple one too. You just want to be very careful, because that pallet fork is a easy to bend piece, and often you have to reshape them when it comes for overhaul. So you're just going to carefully rotate the balance wheel at the bottom with your fingers, gently moving that roller out of the way. And once you have that roller clear of the pallet fork, you'll reach from the opposite side and gently move this pallet fork back over, just with your fingers. And you just want to move it gently over. You don't want to go down or up too much. And you just carefully push this fork. And that's what you don't want to do. This one's a tough one, so it will be a good one for the instructions here. You got it kind of hung up here now. And this one is out of poise a little bit, so I might have to do some repoising, and that's part of the reason why it isn't so easy to do on this. But see, now I have it back over here, and it will be there ready to receive that roller as it rotates back. And this model, or this Atmos, I haven't overhauled yet, so that's part of the reason why this is taking place with that fork like that. And so there you go, you can see now it's there ready to receive that. And so that's how you put your Atmos clock back into action. And here's kind of the reason why that fork didn't want to go so well. And it looks like it's pretty well perfect, but it's not quite. This is supposed to be straight up and down here, and you can see it's bent forward a little bit, and then they've got it down, pressed down a little bit to make up for that, so that's why it was a little tight there. But you know, that might not be a problem, and having that pallet fork tight on the 519 like this may help to prevent it from jumping out of action. Another thing I'll show you on this one, just because we're here, this is what a broken chain looks like on an Atmos clock. And the links will just let go from time to time, and it's something that happens. And then when that happens, your clock runs the power down on the mainspring, and then it eventually just will stop. It might start to run slow at first and it will stop, and that's because now that the winding chain is broken, the bellows are no longer winding the mainspring. And so when I repair the chains, I resolder them, and I can usually do that without having to replace them. I just solder the link back together, and when doing so I have to remove all the movement and everything else, so I might as well overhaul the clock as well. And I charge $35 to resolder the chain, and then my overhaul is $350, so then you come to $385 with the chain repair. So now you can see we have our roller kind of just gently rotating around and coming back, and it can enter the fork better. And the reason why they have that third prong up at the top is because it fits into a little safety catch above the roller here on the balance tube. You see that hole? That's a safety catch so that that third prong that's on the top enters that and rides into there, and that's part of the design to prevent from jumping out of action. So when I ship the clock, I stop it dead center here. And the reason why I don't recommend starting the clock with using the hands, which you see on the internet and some people say that's what they do, I'll show you just here for a second that you can do that. Maybe back out a little bit. Okay. You can do that. I'll show you. But it puts a lot of stress on your pallet fork. Now you're putting all the weight, you know, the resistance of spinning that balance wheel with your fingers, you're putting all of that on a prong of the pallet fork, and eventually doing that over the years, your pallet fork is going to become out of shape and it's going to be too widely opened. The gap there is going to be too large, and I see that quite often. And you know, that causes you trouble with the action. See, this balance wheel on the pallet fork has to rotate in, that roller has to rotate in the pallet fork and be received perfectly, and then also released perfectly, so it's a smooth, seamless, you know, catch and release. And that is interrupted when you do that by setting the time with the hands. I'm not going to do a ton of parts identification in this one. If you have questions about the parts that I'm mentioning, please go watch the how to start your Atmos clock video first and check that out, and from there you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about here. This one's kind of a little bit more of an advanced video after you've already understood the components of the Atmos clock. As always, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, and thank you for watching and your interest in Atmos clocks. Take care. Bye-bye.